Hey everyone, welcome again. Just wanted to say thanks to everyone that has been supporting the page. And also, I have a tiny favor to ask for you guys. Can you please share this content with students that you might know, especially students that are moving from that high school, then going into college phase, so that they can, help them to know about and learn about different careers. Well, I'm gonna leave it right there. Enjoy the video. Thanks again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, appreciate you guys. Hey, welcome again, everybody. Welcome back to my channel and the Coffee and Careers segment. My name is Sean Gillens. I'm your host. And today we have another exciting career that we want to bring to you guys, and it's going to be financial analysts. All right. We have our interviewee today, Arlen Morrison. He's a financial analyst. Arlen, I'm going to pass it over to you to do your introduction. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Arlen Morrison. As Sean said, I'm a financial analyst. Technically, I'm an investment analyst. That's my official title at work. But
Right.
I'm also a chartered financial analyst. So that is correct. People use those terms interchangeably.
Got it.
I work at GMMB Group Limited in Jamaica as part of the research team.
Got you. Hence, I guess the tropical background and that you have right now. All right, awesome. So before we even start, I'm gonna do something, not on script. Basically, Lionel Messi finally got his first international championship, and I'm happy. So I remember you being an Argentinian fan, so I'm hoping that is still consistent.
Oh no, of course no. Argentina from my eye there, my knee, as we say in Jamaica, meaning from a little child. I used to follow Argentina from David Batistuta. I was playing for the side.
Right.
This has been personally, he's my GOAT, greatest of all time. So for me, that last night was really special to get that one final mark off the checklist to say an international trophy, because I think it was the first finals he's been to and didn't win. So I can imagine how stressful it has been leading up to last night, and then how relieved he is that he has nothing left to prove right now.
Right, exactly.
Because he had all the accolades apart from that. And I was like, that was a really great night to be an Argentina fan.
Definitely. So for all you Cristiano Ronaldo viewers, I appreciate you. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Number two isn't bad. Number two isn't bad at all.
Right.
So as a financial analyst, particularly when you work for an investment house, and that would be a company that manages finances on behalf of their clients, help you with wealth management, or they have their own investments that they manage. What I do as a financial analyst is to do all of the heavy lifting and research that would be used to make investment decisions. And typically, or a better way to put it is, and this is something I learned very early in my career, is that the difference between a financial analyst and a reporter is the reporter just gives you the news. A financial analyst will give you the news, but also give you a recommendation based on the news. So you're going to do research into a company, into the economy, analyze the financials, analyze the trends, and then from that analysis, you're going to make recommendations on how people should make investment decisions.
Got it. Okay, and so for our audience, I've probably known Arlen for how long now, man? I don't even know.
I want to say from grade 4, so I'd say since I was about 7 or 8. It's
right. So over 2 decades. We're not going to date ourselves.
yeah, let's not.
Right. It's over 2 decades, and so I wanted to know. We went to UE together, and I wanted to kind of walk me through how you became a financial analyst. Was it like something like right after high school you just knew you wanted to be that, or it just manifested itself in that way?
Yeah. So funny enough, for most of my prep school and I think all of my high school life, I wanted to be a lawyer. I
Okay.
grew up loving Law and Order. I thought it was really cool. Um, Looking back, I know that that show maybe glamorized that profession a lot more than the reality probably is. So I always wanted to be a lawyer. And when I got to the point where we decide what subjects to pick in for CXC, my mother pushed me into the sciences, and I never really wanted to do the sciences. I wanted to do history and literature and whatnot. So I did the CXCs, passed those, and it was time to go to sixth form, and I had to pick subjects. So I picked accounting first because I was like, I want to be rich someday. You know, you're young, you have these great dreams, and I want to make sure I know how to manage my money. So I thought that this would be a pretty sensible decision. And then I picked econ. And the reason why I picked econ is because my father had a bachelor's in econ. So I was like, all right, if I need any help, I can go to daddy. And I didn't really know much about that subject before. And I did some research, and it said that it's heavily math based, and a strong understanding of math would be good. So with that, I decided to do math as my third option. And in doing econ in sixth form, lower and upper six, I gravitated towards it because I'm a very inquisitive person. I like to understand how things work. And in economics, you understand how the economy works. And it sort of made some of the decisions that we were making as a country in terms of like the economic decisions a little bit more clearer, be good or bad decisions, to understand when a decision was bad or understand why a decision was made in terms of the potential good that could come from it.
Right.
So I really gravitated towards it, and I then decided to just, you know what, I really like this. And I did some more research, which I always recommend when you pick in subjects to go to university, is do some research, like look at what the potential is for the career so that you don't leave and then trying to figure out what's the next step. And I saw a long list of potential careers. I saw banker, financial analyst, I saw portfolio manager. I didn't know what all of these jobs did apart from like banker. And at that time, I was thinking about the people who work in the bank, like the tellers.
Right.
So I'm not really knowing much about the other persons in the back office or so. So I went and did econ, and I did my bachelor's in econ, and I was contemplating whether or not I should do my master's. And I said, the best thing I should probably do is to try to work for 1 year, figure out if I really want to continue along that line of econ. So I actually went to work for a year at the Central Bank of Jamaica, the Bank of Jamaica. And I realized at that time that I really wanted to work in the part of the industry that covers like the stocks and the bonds and all the stuff that you see on TV and you hear about, because you don't really get that deep into it when you are on the side of the regulator. So I left there and I started in the private financial space at a company called Mayberry Investments as a research analyst. And then worked my way up, moved around a little bit, and now I'm at GMMB.
So to the next question, which is going to be on skills. Now, so you've been in the financial world for quite a minute, and so what skills you think are things that are important to be successful as a financial analyst?
I think curiosity is probably the first thing, trying to understand how things work. Because at the core of it, what you want to do is understand. Let's, for example, I'm looking at a company who's about IPO. You're trying to figure out how does this company make money? What factors are relevant to its ability to generate revenues? Like what factors have a significant impact on its operations? So you really have to be curious, willing to learn. So there's a lot of reading that goes into it. So you're going to be pouring not over just financial statements, but news articles. I think having a good grasp of economics is important, micro and macro, from the standpoint of understanding how different economic factors move and how they impact the company. You have to be very organized because when you're a financial analyst, you work with a lot of deadlines. A lot of deals evolve very quickly, and you might be in a situation, for example, where let's say an IPO comes out and you need to do a piece for the sales team. There might be two IPOs in the week, so you have to move very fast. Time is money, so you have to be very organized. So you have to be able to plan out your work day properly and get stuff done. Um, I think sacrifice is another thing that you probably have to have. Being able to give up um, certain things, like for example, a birthday party, a drink up,
Oh, fun, and yeah,
fun.
like
Like
not
because as I
happy hour
said,
every week.
like when a deal is close to being done or close to being closed and then need your analysis very quickly, like so because sometimes like a lot of financial deals evolve over a period of months, even years. But sometimes when it comes to a portfolio manager making a decision, he might get that opportunity very close to the close date, and then he needs something very fast to make a decision. So you have to be able to organize your workflow because you don't want to work fast, you want to work smart. So it's not about getting it out, the research piece out quickly, it's about getting it out um, properly, in the sense that you don't want to be the first one out and you skip over a lot of the important things that you should, because you are, a lot of times people just want to see what the recommendation is. They're not reading the full report to see all the factors you discuss. They just want to say, okay, should I buy this or should I sell this? And
Right.
to be fair, if you are paying a management fee to a portfolio manager, you're expecting them to do all this due diligence and you're trusting them that they, as a fiduciary, have your best interest at heart. So you have to be very thorough in what you're doing. You have to be very meticulous in your work, because you're going to have to pour into a lot of documents, then doing auxiliary research, where like you're going to look at newspaper reports on anything that might be going on in the sector that the company operates in and how it might potentially impact them. You have to have a little bit of understanding of what's going on in, for example, laws, like regulations impact companies. So you have to, I think you have to love to read, because you're going to be doing a lot of reading. You're going to have to be organized. You're going to have to be able to sacrifice, because a lot of times you're going to be asked to work beyond normal work hours, and you will have very short turnaround periods for deadlines. So it can be very demanding. So if you are somebody who thrives on that, then it can be a career choice for you. But it's
Got it. Got it.
definitely not easy. But and the earning potential can be good, and you know they're just not giving money away because they're trying to make money. So they're going to get their pound of flesh from you for the work that you do. Typical day for me, I'd get in, assuming I've had breakfast already. If I haven't, I would get breakfast, have it at my desk, and normally what I do during that time is just go over the news. So I will look at the financial news for the day, both locally and internationally, because we have assets that we cover internationally, and we now have a global market. So things that happening across the sea can impact you. So you want to be up to date on that. So that's the first thing I normally do is check up on the news, check up on my emails to see if there's any request that comes in that might be time sensitive, which would mean I would have to reorganize my workflow, because I might be working on a project currently, which will take a couple of days to do. And then I get started into the work. So when I'm doing a research piece, typically what I do, the first thing to do is just collate data. So I would, let's use an IPO, for example, which is an initial purchase offer when a company is looking to raise money by selling shares for the first time in the capital market. So I would have a prospectus, which is a document that details the terms of the IPO, like how many shares are being sold and the price, and then our history of the brief history of the company, the financial history. So what I do is read through that, um, take the financials that I can find, and build out a financial model. And when I say financial model, what that involves is, for me, is taking the financials and putting in Excel. So then I can manipulate the numbers. So I can stress test the numbers. I can make projections into the future. I can, I would make various assumptions and then see how would that play out in my financial model. And I'd use that to project earnings into the future.
Okay.
And I would typically have a valuation model within that financial model that I'd use to come up with a price for the security. So, so like I might spend the first day just reading up on the investment opportunity, just like reading through the prospectus, which can go into the over 100 pages, for example. So you read through it, you highlight the pertinent stuff that you say, okay, I might need to go back to this and check it over. I read through that, I try and collate as much data as I can. Then I'd work on building up my model, and then I'd start writing the report. So that is another thing that you wouldn't necessarily think of when you say financial analyst, because you're thinking about looking at a lot of numbers, a lot of modeling. So you have to have a very strong understanding of math. And as I said, when I said I picked math because I saw that it is very relevant to econ. A lot of econ is not just economic theories where you're just discussing how people make decisions about what they do. A lot of it is mathematical modeling.
Right.
So you have to have a very strong understanding of math. And I think that makes your life a whole lot easier. But you also have to have a very good writing ability, because you are going to convey everything that you have researched and everything that your model tells you onto the research report. And it has to be in a manner that is digestible for your audience. And you have to think about the fact that you're not just sending it to a portfolio manager to make a decision. It might go to a client who has no background. So you're going to have some financial jargon in it that they might definitely need to Google or ask the advisor, hey, what does this mean? But you still want it to be in a state which is still digestible, easily read, so that a wide group of readers can understand what you're trying to say about this company or this investment opportunity. So when you read a lot, um, it you're reading not just to understand, but also to increase, for example, your vocabulary, how you communicate. That's very important. Your writing style is hugely important, which is why if you go and do an MBA, there's a reading comprehension part, and then there's the critical thinking, which is more like the math based. Like writing skills are very key in research.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Communication skills, people. Communication skills. All
And
right.
not just on writing, because you might have to present. So a lot of times you might be asked to go into a meeting, or you're asked to present at an investor presentation. So you have to stand up in front of people. So you have to be able to write well, being able to do presentations, like to do that PowerPoint presentation, and then to speak in front of a crowd and accurately condense that information in a form that's palatable.
Right. All right. So you mentioned also that you got your you passed all of the CFA exams, and that's I think the chartered financial analyst. I don't remember what
Yes,
it's.
chartered financial analyst.
Right. So I want you to kind of I would think that what brought you to that decision, to go and sit for those exams versus say do an MBA. What was that?
So my first choice was actually to do an MBA.
Uh-huh.
I left university not even knowing what the CFA was. Um, and while I was at the Bank of Jamaica and trying to figure out what my next steps were, I said, okay, I don't want to work in the regulator space. I think my passion would be more in the private space. And I said I wanted to further my education because the career, the finance world is very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that there was a lot of stuff that I did not learn in university. So when you do an econ degree, I took a lot of electives that were math based, a lot of
Right.
statistical courses because I didn't want to write all those essays. So I picked all the free electives where I could just do math because I didn't want to do any long papers or any long research. But I realized that there was a lot about the financial world that I was not introduced to. Like I never really do any courses that taught you about valuation of companies or anything like that, or like what the different type of financial securities are, or how they're impacted by different economic factors. So I said I wanted to go and probably do an MBA or a Master's of Science in Finance. So I actually applied to a couple schools and I did get into some of my choices, but it was really cost prohibitive.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was doing the research to decide what colleges to apply for, I came across the CFA and I did a little bit more digging and how it's marketed as being the gold standard for financial professionals. And the reason why it's marketed or viewed that way is because it's a very rigorous exam. So you do it in three parts, three levels. And at the time I did it, they were only offering the exams once per year, normally in about early June. And the reason why I made the decision to do the CFE. It would have taken longer because the exams are only once a year,
Right.
but they were significantly cheaper than doing a master's or an MBA. And because it's an internationally recognized charter, I was like, I would be able to leverage this into a career anywhere across the globe. So I the CFA now, it's how it's structured is if you're going to pursue a career in finance, it's structured in a way that even if you did something totally unrelated, they would start from scratch. So they have introductory courses in accounting, in economics, in qualitative methods that you would use to build up models, for example, in equity analysis, fixed income analysis, with alternative investments,
A
portfolio.
good base. A good base is level
Yeah,
one.
it goes at a very it starts at a very introductory level. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have an econ or finance background, but it is very rigorous. So
Right.
the the official text for each level is pretty voluminous,
Mm-hmm.
and you effectively take it on like you're doing 1 year's worth of university studies. So like typically the registration opens up in about September, August, and then the exams are in June. So they recommend, I think 300 hours is the recommended study time. So there's a lot of information to digest,
Right.
and it's a challenging exam. I know due to COVID, they've changed how it's tested, but when I did it, it was a 1 day exam. So you do a morning paper from 9 to 12 a.m., 9 to 12 a.m., 9 to 12 p.m., and then you do a second paper from 2 to 5. So it's two
Okay.
3 hour papers in 1 day. So it is grueling to say the least, and it has a pretty high failure rate.
I can
Um,
imagine. I mean, anything that is going to be, um, you know, getting you out there in different job spaces. I would think that has to be a challenge, right? It has to be a way of weeding.
yeah, so I
Oh,
think they want more CFA. A big part of the CFA is ethics. So, for example, in the first year, if you have a really strong ethics, so there's a segment of the syllabus that's just on ethics, because you know that there's a stigma around finance professionals,
right.
Wall Street, and some of the characters in Wall Street, and some of the shenanigans that they keep up from time to time.
Yeah,
So they
throughout the
really
years, yes.
try, so they push financial excellence, not just in the how you do your job, but in terms of how well you do your job in terms of like academic side of it, but also on the ethical side of it. So like, for example, when I was doing it, I was aware that if your ethics grade was really strong and you were like right on the edge of passing or failing, that could potentially help bump you up to a pass.
Got it.
So what they try to do is to push for excellence in the field, so it is very rigorous. I want to say that when I did the first exam, the pass rate was at like low 40s, and then it went up incrementally. So like level 2 was high 40s, and then level 3 is like low 50s.
Okay.
And I remember distinctively being in the exam hall, and I felt like there were maybe close to 100 people doing level 1, and then several rows, columns over, you'd have people doing level 2, and there's like 20 little. And
It
then
trickles down, right? Because it's
you
being
probably
weeded off.
see
Right.
level 3, you probably see like 10 people or less,
Right.
because of how rigorous it is and how much time you have to invest. As I said, 300 hours to complete it. A lot of people find it very hard to commit that much time. So I wouldn't say that it is necessarily hard. I think it's just that so much work is involved in it that the commitment and the discipline required cannot be met by a lot of people. And then, so you have 3 exams. I believe the average amount of time that the state people take to complete it is 4 years. But I don't know if they count that, and that's people who complete it. There are a lot of people who start and for whatever reasons just
Oh, they
fall
stop. They
off
stop in the
because they
middle.
probably realize that I'm not gonna do this, or they take quite a long time to eventually complete it, but maybe stopping for personal reasons. Because you can imagine trying to do a program that takes around 4 years and on average, but then you fail a level, you fail another level, and you might have a family. So, and it takes a lot of commitment. So for example, I was working in research at the time, and that involves a lot of assignments that you carry home. Like there's a lot of homework in research outside of the allotted 40 hour
Work week.
work week. You're probably working more like, depending on where you are and the resources the team has, you can work maybe 60 to 70, depending. There's a lot of extra time put in. So that, trying to balance that, and then the exams, if you have kids, you have a wife, it's really challenging. But
Right.
what
So
I
juggle.
will say though is it's so all encompassing that it really gives you a strong understanding of finance that I believe makes you significantly better at what you do. Not just so they teach you a lot of stuff, and then they also test you very rigorously, so ensure that you should be able to understand the concepts rather than just doing rote learning.
Right. So I guess, can I infer though that you'd probably advise students to try and get them done early?
I definitely would. As I see, what I see now is that because of better marketing in Jamaica, when we started, we didn't have a CFA society. So there are CFA societies across the globe in different countries.
Right.
And a part of the mandate is educating potential financial professionals about the program, um, showing them the benefit of trying to achieve a charter. So now you'll find people attempting it while they're in university, similarly to when people, I guess, try to do AXI
Yeah. Same
exams
thing.
while they're studying, to just try and bundle it up to finish the academic studies, so you can just focus on your career once you complete your degree.
Right. Because life takes a toll sometimes, and life happens, And so, yeah, if you can get, I guess, level 1 out of the way, or level 1 and 2 out of
Level
the way.
1, and as I said, level 1 is a lot of so level 1 when I did it was a straight multiple choice.
Okay.
So I think how I explain it is that it's a lot of information to cover, but it's multiple choice. So if you start very early and you do a lot of practice, a lot of the stuff will stick. When you come to level 2 and 3, now you take what you learn and now have to combine concepts and now solve problem sets that run on from different topics. So you have to really have a grasp of the information rather than just being able to, for example, remember what a formula is and use that formula to calculate a solution.
Right. And so also for our audience, I would think though that you can't move from level 1 to level 2 if you haven't passed level 1.
No,
right?
you have to pass level 1 before you can jump to level 2. I think they want to ensure that you fully grasp the topic. And if I recall correctly, the pass rate is based on the average score that they assume a CFA charter holder would get.
Got it.
So it's not, I don't think it's based solely on just the candidate's performance, but they want to ensure that you are meeting the standard of a charter holder. So what a charter holder would get on the test if they were tested is what you should be getting, if I remember correctly, what the standards are. I'm not sure if it's still the same. So that's how rigorous it is. So it's a serious commitment in time and discipline, but I definitely think it's worth it because, for example, now that we have a CFA society, we have regular meetings where they will bring in speakers to present on topical financial issues so that you're able to do continued education. They have a large resource of research papers and analysis on various topics. And then you also build a network of people who you can always reach out to, not just for advice, but also for like career advancement. They actively host job openings in the financial space, not just in your particular area, but globally. So if you want to move, and then the CFA charter holders definitely, I think, put a premium on other charter holders or candidates because they know the work that went into achieve it. So it definitely puts you in good stead. Similarly, if you're going to a top B school to do your MBA.
Got it. Just less debt.
A lot less debt. I'd say, so it's a self-study program. So you pay for the exams, you get the syllabus. But what I did and what a lot of people do is use third-party course guides that really focus on, so the CFA official textbooks would really just focus on starting from the basics. The guides now focus on passing. So they're going to condense all the stuff to what they think is the important stuff. And I guess if you want to get a broader understanding or a more nuanced understanding, you can go back to the official text if you so choose to.
Got it. Okay, that's good. Valuable information for our audience. If you are interested in being a financial analyst and taking on the CFA route, as I mentioned earlier, there's less debt than the MBA.
Yeah, so in terms of cost, I want to say it was maybe $600 or $800 if you applied early when I started, and then probably went up to $1,200 if you did the late application, and then you get the textbooks. If you choose, you can go and get third-party materials to study from, or even the classes. There are a lot of classes that are available to you online, or depending on where you are in person. There are boot camps, exam prep sessions. So there's a lot of resources around it. There's an ecosystem around it, in addition to what you get from the CFA. So I would say if you use that and pay for the official exam application fee, you can probably end up spending around, depending on what resources and when you apply, a little under $2,000, or let's say $2,000 to $3,000 for each level.
US, yeah, right.
US,
3,000 US.
Compared to, for example, $80,000 if you're going to a top business school, like, for example, Stern at NYU.
Right. Exactly. So, all right, I think that's good. It's kind of similar with my actuary exams type of vibe. Key things though, guys, please remember it's, if you want to think of it, it's self-study. So it's going to demand some discipline.
For
And
sure.
also it's a juggling act in terms of the fact that you'll be working at the time and working and studying, so that's where the discipline comes in hand. And that's going to be very important for your success ultimately, and so I think a great advice you brought up was trying to get these exams done while you're doing your undergrad, for example, to kind of jumpstart the whole process, right?
So one thing to note is that
Mm-hmm.
in addition to doing the exams, you also have to have a set amount of years in the sector. If I'm remembering correctly, it's 5 years in a finance or finance related role.
Okay.
So by the time I was finished, I was probably 6 or 7 years into the sector. So it was an immediate thing. I'm not sure what it's like, because I say the average time is around 4 to 5 years. So if you're starting fresh out of school, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if how strict they are on that. If you are a savant and you just fly through the exams from like undergrad, and then you probably reach level 3 by the time you finish. I don't know how you juggle it, but I guess if you're motivated enough, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there is a component, not just where you would do the exams, you also has to have the sufficient work experience to go with it.
Okay, that's very important.
But but for me, the good thing with being in a finance related role was that I was readily it was easy for me to institute what I was learning immediately into work. So anytime I came across a new concept or a new evaluation technique, I implement it into my workflow so I could get the practice. Because I think that is the biggest thing you can do to help you to pass is to practice. I remember doing in my last year maybe 10 practice papers. I remember these papers are supposed to be done over a 3 hour period. So that's the sort of work that you have to really put in. And like I always stress to anybody who asks me about it,
Mhm.
to always remember that it is very intensive. They have a high standard, so you're not gonna float by and coast. Like if you maybe coasted in high school or college, nah, you're in the big leagues now. Like you really have to buckle down,
Right.
or you'll waste your time because you register in September, October, the exam is in June. Let's say you don't spend the 300 hours, you spend let's say 2 hours, 200 hours. You'd still spend 200 hours and wish you had that time back if you didn't pass. So I say, if you go into it with your eyes open. That is very stressful. It's very demanding. But
Right.
to me, I think it's very rewarding on the flip side. And that's how life is. Anything that is really worth it doesn't come easy.
You dropping some life gems now. Okay, I see you. All right, that is awesome. That is awesome. All right. Work-life balance. Now, I know it's going to be an interesting response because I think you kind of mentioned the fact that, yes, you kind of have to kind of go a little bit above the 40 hours a week.
Work-life balance is interesting because I feel like when you start out as a junior analyst, you probably get the brunt of the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
So be prepared to put in a lot of hours. I remember, and this is a very interesting story. I remember the first time I started working at a financial house, and I would have gone the first day and I would have done my orientation. They would have set up my computer and everything. So 4:30 rolled around. So I packed up and headed to the door.
Right.
So when I got down to the ground level, I was passing somebody who is a friend of my brother, my older brother. So he was saying, "Hey, where you going?" It's like, "I headed home, work's over." I was like, "What do you mean work's over? Research doesn't leave early." So after a while, I got to realize that research does not leave early because research always has work.
Right.
Because you're either looking at a new deal or a new investment opportunity, or you're providing ongoing coverage for an entity that's already listed, like already on a stock exchange. So you have to give regular updates about their performance. So there's always work. So
Gotcha.
I learned that very early. And so it's very, and I've been in this sector more than a decade now, and I still sometimes struggle with work-life balance, and that's because I have very high standards for myself.
Mhm.
So I always want to ensure that the work I put out is of a certain standard, because your reputation is very important in this field, because people trusting you with money and trusting you with their college funds, with their retirement funds. So like, you have to take the responsibility very serious and really put in the work to make sure that your work is at the level where it needs to be.
Mhm.
But sometimes you also have to remember that we're humans. So you have to take time to recharge. You have to take the appropriate rest. I like to work out. So I was going to the gym the whole time I was doing the CFA studies
Mhm.
and going to work, because you have to keep yourself in tip-top condition, because you have to keep your mind sharp at all times. You have to make sure you're healthy, you're eating right, you're getting sufficient rest, as hard as it can, because there are going to be times you're going to sacrifice. So I might find myself where maybe an entire week I'm working well into the night. So let's say I don't like to work late at the office. I prefer to take my work home. So I go home, I'll
Mhm.
go to the gym, work out, get home, shower, eat, and then I'll continue working. So let's say I get in by 9. Half 9, go to the gym and come back and eat, shower. It's 9 o'clock. I'm gonna work till maybe 12.
Got you.
So it's
Got you.
another 3 hours every day, and I might do that for a week. Weekends, I think if you're smart, you're probably going to sacrifice some weekends and do some work, because you can set aside that 2, 3 hours and do some work and still have enough time to get rest, run some errands, because it will take some of the pressure off of you in the week
In the week. Yeah.
when you're back in work. So like, catch up on some work, some reading, because it can get really hectic at
Mhm.
times. So you have to monitor that. I know a lot of people who will sit down at their desk at 9 and don't go to eat till like 3. And that sort of erratic eating will have issues with on your digestive system. So like,
Right.
it's very hard to balance. I won't lie and glamorize the sector,
Mhm.
especially when you're looking in, for example, the US. Like, we've heard about how stressful working on Wall Street can be.
Right.
Um, so you have to be very conscious about how you organize your time. Like,
Good.
time management is really good. And I would definitely say, so you might not go out and party as much as some of your friends will, based on what their career allows. But if you balance your time, you can still find time to get out and have a good work-life balance. Because at the end of the day, like, I have a mantra: I am working to live, not living to work. Like, all the work I put in is to subsidize the cost of the life I'd like to live. That's
Got it.
how I view work. So
Right. Right.
it
Right.
makes
And that
no
makes sense.
sense to put in all of this work and you never enjoy life, because I think, if anything, what last year showed us is that life can be very fleeting, and we really need to take advantage of all the opportunities we can to really enjoy it.
Boom. Boom. I like it. I'm telling you, this question, everybody's been doing. I don't know, man. You guys are drawing from the good stuff is coming through. I'm like, all right, work-life balance. But yeah, that's very true. Everything that you mentioned, and then I appreciate your transparency with the profession, because that's the main thing about my platform. I don't want to sell a sugar-coated version of something. All right, we're gonna close it off right now, but I want you to close this off by sharing any advice you have for students that are interested in becoming a financial analyst.
Um, so I guess I could probably look at what I'd want to know if I was still a student at the time, or what
Yeah.
I should have done. I
Right.
think one of the good things you can do is and in this day and age, there are so many videos on YouTube where you have other people telling you about a day in the life of a financial analyst, not just me. Really go and do your research. I realize that not every school has the guide and counseling services that some of the top schools might have. So you might not get that hands-on guidance. So you have to go to your way to do that research, and that's what you do as a financial analyst. Like your life is research, going out there and finding the answers. So I would say do your research, figure out what, based on your circumstances, what's more important, what's more feasible for you. Are you going to do an MBA? Are you going to do a master's in science? Um, Look up what those courses cover and if it's relevant to what your career path will be. You can look up the different fields in the financial space because you have different areas that you can tackle. When you look at financial analysts, you have the buy side and you have the sell side, where sell sides will be creating reports that help to increase trade activity from the clients. Whereas on the buy side now, I will be more writing research pieces for funds, investment funds who pool monies for different groups of people so that they have bigger buying power and negotiation power. For example, a retirement fund. So I'm still solely focused on ensuring that they earn the best return they can based on their circumstances, their ability and willingness to take risks, for example. So research the different roles that are out there outside of the financial analyst because you might see that, oh, I may not want to be an analyst, I might want to be a trader, or you might not want to work in an investment bank where they would be more focused on doing research to structure deals and like prepare a company to raise money. You might want to work like what I do in a wealth management company that is more focused on helping people build wealth. So there are a multitude of roles that you can look into, like, and now you can, as I said, find out what the day in the life of involves. You can find out about compensation. I think that's a big thing that you should do is to find out what does this role potentially pay, especially in the area where you live, because the income can be very different and range from, it's a wide range based on where you reside. So
Gotcha.
you might say, okay, where I live, this might be a very lucrative position, but then what does it require to get into those roles? Because those high value markets might be very competitive, might require you to do an MBA, not just a bachelor's, because you want to improve your attractiveness to employers. So,
Mhm.
and you might want to figure out, okay, can I afford to do a master's? What are the scholarship opportunities? Or do I want to do a CFA and take my time and build up? And then if I'm not already in the financial world, I can transition into it. So I'd say definitely do your research. Like it sounds simple, but just read up, watch some videos, and really get a better grasp, better grasp of what the career involves. So while you are studying, you can decide much earlier than I did what steps I want to take and reach out to people. Like if you have the means or the network where you can talk to somebody directly
Uh-huh.
who is in your area, I find that people in the financial industry are pretty cool. Like they will mentor, they're willing to mentor because networking is so important in the field. Yeah, that is a huge thing I should have probably mentioned earlier. Networking is very important. And I don't mean just like brown nosing and causing up to people to use them. Like you're gonna express a genuine interest in the field and express that you'll be open to them guiding you if they have the bandwidth to do so and just try to suck up as much knowledge as you can.
Right. And I think in any professional space, networking will be important. In
For
my
sure.
yeah, in my opinion. All right. So thank you so much, Arlen, for taking the time to have this
No
awesome interview
problem.
with me. And I'm gonna close it off there, and then you guys stay locked for another awesome career. I don't know what it's gonna be yet. We'll see.